Yes, welcome along to the Racing Postcast, brought to you by Unibet. With me, David Jennings, standing in for James Stevens this week, and I'm delighted to be joined by our betting editor, Keith Melrose. We've got our shrewd handicapper, Jonny Pearson, and we've got Brett Williams from our sponsors, Unibet. Now we're going to be getting stuck into the action at Kempton, Ffos Las and Newcastle in a couple of moments. But before we do know the countdown is on to Cheltenham, of course you do, and the entries are out for the Gold Cup and the Ryanair this week. So to mark that occasion, we're going to get one Cheltenham tip from each of our panellists. And because you are the betting editor, Mr. Keith Melrose, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, the entries didn't tell you an awful lot, but what I did get from him is that McManus only has 2 in the Gold Cup. You know, he's got Factifile and Corbett's Cross, and that maybe tells me they're going to take him on. To use Factifile to take on Galopin Des Champs again. So for that reason, I just thought the Ryanair looked very open, and we've not seen El Fabiolo yet this season, but we knew we weren't going to see him until at least Christmas quite a while ago. And he's always the horse that wanted to just get out of that, you know, elimination race style 2 mile jumping. I think he might go a favourite for the race, you know.
Beautiful. So we've got an 8-1 shot that could go off favourite to start proceedings. Brett Williams, what have you got for us, the next leg of our Lucky 15?
Well, I'm quite looking forward to seeing what connections do with Ffos France. Of course, he ran a great race in the King George. He's in the Ryanair and the Queen Mother Champion Chase. I think they're probably going to go down the Ryanair route, and he's around 9-1 with Unibet. I think that could be a good price stepping back down in trip. As I said, that sort of tight 3 miles at Kempton, you know, suits him obviously, but not quite as well as 2.5. I think might do at Cheltenham. So for me, 9-1 Ffos France in what, you know, is the race you'd imagine will cut at the Gold Cup. We've got our hot favourite there, Galopin Des Champs, odds on 10-11. We have seen a bit of support, I will say, for L'Homme Pressé for Venetia Williams. That went out a 25-1 shot from 33s. One of a very sort of small local contingent. Dan Scoutton's got Grey Dawning in there as well at 20-1. I should also add, we are non-runner, no bet, all races at the festival from the 1st of March.
Okay, this is going well. So our first 2 legs of the Lucky 15, we have one in the same race. So it's Ffos France for Brett Williams. It is El Fabiolo for Keith Melrose. Jonny Pearson. It's turned into a Trixie now. So viewers and listeners, whoever you hold most fondness for, either Brett Williams or Keith Melrose, you can pick either El Fabiolo or Ffos France. He's the first leg of your Trixie. You're next up, Jonny.
For all I'm not a big fan of bumpers, I think Calypso Chance for Gordon Elliott looks a stand-up bumper horse for me. Also, there's the pipe horse that went from Ireland over to Ireland won at Ascot impressively around the Christmas period. But I think Calypso Chance, the way he won in Ireland last time, just quick and put lengths between them in a matter of seconds, if that. And I think 7-1's a huge price. You know, as we've seen with Jasmine DeVoe, it's not about what he does next year. He doesn't need to be able to jump this year. And he looks the quickest bumper horse I've seen so far. And I think he's a really good bet.
Brilliant. That's Calypso Chance in the champion bumper. And I'll add in Potter's Charm, who I still think is overpriced for the Turner's Novice Hurdle, around about 6 or 7-1. So there you go. That's your Trixie for the 2025 Cheltenham Festival. Okay, so that's Cheltenham. That can wait. You can wait 10 weeks or so until the festival kicks off. But you want to make money before then, so we're going to kick off our weekend preview with the 135. It is over 2 miles, 4 furlongs and 110 yards. And currently with our sponsors Unibet, Saint Seagull is your 11-4 favourite. It is 9-2 Sir Psycho. Heltenham is 11-2. Triple Trade also 11-2. It's 6-1 Baloo. Keep Running is a 13-2 shot. And to give you a full market check, Salamanca Bay is 16-1 along with Carbon King. And Hubrisco is your 18-1 outsider of the field. We'll start with you here, Jonny. A tricky, trappy handicap chase to start our preview of Saturday's action.
It is a bit tricky. And Sensigal was a good winner at Newbury last time. For all it wasn't, I don't think it was the best of race. It was pretty impressive and probably more to come. But I tipped up a horse last week, and obviously there was no racing, so that went well. But it was Triple Trade for Joe Tizard. Back up, they've stayed up at 2 miles 4, which they were planning on doing last week. And if you look at his form, I think his last one was over 2 miles 4. He's down to a mark of 127. And if he's back to sort of anywhere near his best, I think he should have a really good chance there of winning.
Wow, nice. So there we go. Currently, what price are we looking at for 11-2, Jonny, to kick off proceedings? What do you like in this opening handicap chase, Keith?
With Jonny, I'm like Triple Trade. I mean, there's two horses I'm interested in the race. We've got Sir Psycho and we've got Triple Trade, but I think Triple Trade wanted to go up from 2 miles to 2.5, and I thought Sir Psycho, I think he wants maybe to make him run that Sandown race on Masters Day, is the race I had in mind for him. So that being the case, it's Triple Trade for me. He's been wanting to go back up and trip for a while now. I think he made his name at 2 miles, but he'd been a weak finisher in the past. I think now he can see his races out. He doesn't need to, and I think he's got a real chance in this one.
Okay, so the two Shrudies are in agreement. 11-2 Triple Trade. That could look a big price. Come about 141 on Saturday. Brett, are you going to make the hat trick with Triple Trade?
No, no surprises here, DJ. I'm going to look at the Nicky Henderson run. I've actually just got the phone from him for his Unibet blog. He's got Baloo, who runs in this, who's a 6-to-1 shot with Unibet. He was disappointing at Cheltenham last time over hurdles over 3 miles. He's stepping back down to 2.5, which is a distance that suits him much better. And he also switches back to fences. Nicky thinks that that will see him in a much better light. He said he sort of couldn't quite get into a rhythm at Cheltenham. He was always just being pushed and shoved along, but they're going to try and make a little bit of use of him, get him into a nice rhythm out front. And he has won at Kempton before over hurdles. So as I said, 6-to-1 value for me wouldn't be a bad price at all. And what is a very, very open handicap, where I should say, if you back the second or the third, you're going to get your money back as cash in that with Unibet. So a good offer there, money back offer in that 135.
Obviously deal a good bit with Nicky Henderson, Brett. How good are you at reading Nicky? You know, when he tells you something and you're kind of like, oh, I know he's kind of spoofing here, but when he actually tells you something and you actually believe him, can you read Nicky Henderson properly?
I've been working with him for sort of 5 or 6 years now, and it's taken me quite a long time, but now I can definitely read in between the lines, and I know the sort of words that he'll use, which means, yeah, this could be quite a good horse, or he doesn't think too much of it at all. Yes, he does tend to keep his cards close to his chest, especially when he's got horses owned by the likes of JP McManus and Ollie Harris. But no, I think he's quite keen on a good run from Baloo. But yeah, so we're gradually learning what he thinks of his horses. That horse that runs in the juvenile at Kempton, he was putting me away with that horse. But again, I think he had a little bit of a glint in his eye about that one. He runs in that second race at Kempton.
Lulamba. Look forward hopefully to Lulamba on Saturday. Now, favourite for the Triumph Hurdle, would you believe? So there we go. 2 votes for Triple Trade. We've got 1 for Baloo in that 135 at Kempton on Saturday. Moving swiftly on to the 210. There's Carl pipped at the post and win handicap chase. This time we're up to 3 miles. And it is again very, very tricky. Hunter Legend currently are 3-to-1 favourite with Unibet. Rockavango on a roll. Rockavango is 7-2. Surrey Quest is 5-1 along with Kintara. It is 11-2 Smarty Wild. It's been quite well back, Smarty Wild, and it is 11-1 Bar. We'll kick off with you here, Keith.
Yeah, I'd be annoyed if Smarty Wild, because I had him each way for the Veterans final last week. Looked like he'd been laid out for something like that, got him qualified and whatnot, and he has got good form around Kempton. He's a bit of a bridle horse, so theory Kempton suits him better, but he's got a completely different opposition this week, much younger horses, Rockavango and Hunter's Legend. They're both on the way up. They were actually meant to beat at Sandown on a 2-mile 4 race last week. Triple Trade was in that race too. But 4 of these horses were declared for races last Saturday. A couple of others had a run at Christmas, which didn't get very far or was otherwise an easy race. And I thought Kintara was very interesting, a horse that was second in the Pertense final of a higher mark last season. Hasn't had many goals over fences since going to Melrose. Fancied when the Kim Bailey yard, didn't immediately take to fences and went hurdling instead, back with Rowley, and as I say, nearly won at the Cheltenham Festival off a higher mark. Thought this horse was pretty interesting in this race.
What did you make of the run at Newbury though?
It was a spin, wasn't it?
Well, I'd say you're hoping it was a spin.
Well, yeah. No, it did look a bit spinny to me. So that's the hope. Sometimes they do look a bit, flat and whatnot. And it is 24 days after, so it's soon enough. But I'm happy with a horse that's done that. It's not one since April. Come back over fences, having not taken it for a former yard. I'm just going, right, okay, well, it just looked like a spin, and next time up. You can get too bogged down in reading between the lines on return runs sometimes. How absences manifest in horses varies an awful lot. It can be horses that classically travel and blow up. It can be horses that just don't go yard. So, yeah, I'm happy to say it was a spin and take the chance.
There we go. So it is Kintara for Keith Melrose, 5-1 currently with Unibet with the maestro Charlie Deutsch aboard. Brett, do you like anything in this?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Keith just said, to be honest. I'm really keen on Kintara. I think 5-1 is a solid enough price. Okay, yeah, has got that seasonal return to come back from, because that was slightly disappointing. But first run of the year, we know the team are in good form. That of Malin Phil Riley, of course, won the Welsh Grand National with Bow Dancer. I think they're on a 25% strike rate at the minute, so they are a team to be following. And yeah, still an exposed of offences. Is a factor point-to-point winner, so that wouldn't be a concern for me at all. And no, I think Kintara, what's a very open race. I mean, Hunter Legend is obviously on the upgrade, but quite a significant rise in the weights. We're up £7 for that Leicester victory. That's we'd have to sort of continue improving. I like Rock of Anger. It was a real tough nut. I mean, that was a great race he won up at Toxa, beating Shanna Bob and a few others. But no, I think Kintara's got more to come with offences, and that would be my selection in the race.
Lovely. 2 votes for Kintara. Are you going to make it 3, Jonny?
The good news is we're gonna make it a hat trick here and go with Kintara. I was actually quite surprised that the handicapper dropped him £2 for that race last time. He's gone from the front on reappearance over fences, which he hadn't been over for a long time, and he's been dropped £2. That's sort of race I'll just leave him and see how they run next time when you run like that. So you go to his best hurdling form. And he looks pretty well treated off 127, I think, and he's got to be the selection here.
210 at Kempton, and he's 5-1. We can't say further than that. And I think we're probably all going to be in agreement with the 242 as well. It is the Carl Silviniaco Conti chase, and it looks to me to be another penalty kick for Picdory, who seems to just mop up all these similar type of races. Currently 4-9 with Unibet. Martator is 5-1. Hitman is 5-1, and it's 25-1 unexpected party, and that would be very unexpected indeed. Is it all one-way traffic with Unibet with Picdory here, Brett?
Yeah, this race does always tend just to produce a smallish sort of field, but we should give great credit to Picdory. He's won this race before. Okay, he was beaten in it last year, but that was none other than Mbambush who got his head in front on that occasion. We know that form looks pretty strong now. You'd like to try and find a reason to see why he can get beaten, but looking at it realistically, he's probably going to struggle to be beaten. The closest to him in the ratings is Hitman, who's in the same stable. I think £5 between them. No, it's going to be a case of, I would imagine, fingers and toes crossed for connections of Picdory, a case of one-way traffic for him, really.
One-way traffic, it looks that way. But Keith, sometimes you do take me by surprise, and sometimes we're previewing these races, and I just think it's fairly straightforward. And Keith Melrose comes up with some philosophy to take down the Jollies. Is this one of those occasions?
Well, we haven't been confirmed, DJ, but yes, it is. I look at my Picdory. Such an admirably consistent sort in these races, but it was very unlike him what happened in the Melling Chase in April. He does not blow out like that, and he did, and that put a little bit of pressure on coming back at Ascot. And yes, he won, but given the standard of the opposition in that race, you just thought you'd have wanted to see him do a little bit more. The RPR tells you the story of that. He got 148 for winning that race. It's way off his best. And who among us here hasn't wasted inordinate amounts of our life wondering what Hitman's best conditions are? And for me, it's always been, this horse wants to be fresh. No, stop. Listen. He wants to be fresh and he wants a flat track, doesn't he? And basically, he's getting £6 here. He's not that far off on the ratings. He's 5-1 versus 2's on. Yes, I've given him so many chances down the years. He ran a perfectly good race in the Old Drone against market expectations as well, He's fresh again. He's got a flat track again. Maybe going right's not as good as going left. That's a bit of a problem. But look, Picdory he's a little bit more vulnerable than is getting made out here. But more to the point, if I'm ever right about Hitman, it's going to be flat track, fresh. And he's got it. So let's have a go.
Look, I see your point. Don't get me wrong. I see this point every time with Hitman. But it's getting to the stage now where we're kind of going to go, oh yeah, I actually think he's going to be better when he runs at 2:42. I think that's the time he likes to run at. So I think we're getting into the
there
excuses.
There is. The flat track thing's existed for a long time. And obviously his best run last season was at Newbury in the Denman Chase. He's one pace. He's a bridle horse. He does it all on a bridle, and that's why he fools people. So he can stay 3, but he's good at 2.5. And people keep making these guesses about Trip because he's a bridle horse. But all I see about him is he wants a flat track because he's so one-paced. I think that's part of the issue. He can't quicken and whatever because he does everything on the bit. So yeah, and he's fresh today. It's just, this is your last chance, but Pic D'Orhy hasn't run his very best for quite a while now. In fact, this race last year when Banbridge gave him a bit of a tanking. So yeah, I think it's time to have a go.
Okay, have a go with Hitman again. Jonny Pearson, are you a Hitman fan? Or are you just going to keep it simple with Pic D'Orhy?
I mean, I was looking at this in a fairly similar view to Keith, which is concerning given it's the 3rd race in a row that's happened. But I thought Hitman was interesting. He was pulled out on New Year's Day due to the ground, what was described as soft, despite having run well on soft and heavy in the past. It's likely to be soft again at Kempton, and they're going to be running, which I'm not quite sure the actual reason he would have been pulled out on New Year's Day. Maybe they just didn't fancy the race. But I'm probably not going to have a bet, but if there is one that's going to beat Pic D'Orhy, it will be Hitman.
Okay, so we unbelievably have 2 votes for Hitman, and myself and Brett, the sensible ones amongst us, are keeping the faith with Pic D'Orhy, who actually wins races, whereas Pic D'Orhy
I remember you putting up Mr. Fisher in this race. So don't you talk to me about daft views of Silviaco Conti.
Look, there's a big sign in the Racing Post head office. Do not mention those 2 words ever again, Mr. Fisher. So you have just broken the golden rule of the Racing Post office. Yeah, Mr. Fisher. What a legend. Anyway, that is the Silviaco Conti chase. And moving on to what is an absolute corker. This is going to be interesting. This is the type of races we love of a Saturday afternoon on ITV. Lanzarote handicap Postcast is your 13-2 joint favourite with Beat the Bat. Gipco is 15-2. It is 8-1 Night of Allen. Il Va de Soa is 9-1, 11-1 Dolly the Great, Punta de l'Est 12-1, Kaminskas is 14-1 along with Spirit Danu and Good Luck Charm, and it is 16-1 bar. Now, Brett, I have to come to you here first, okay? Because you're the man, you're Nicky Henderson's eyes and ears. You know what's going on at Seven Barrows. My nap of the whole Christmas festival that I wrote about, that I spoke about, that I told everybody that visited our house over Christmas about was Dolly the Great in the finale at Kempton on St. Stephen's Day or Boxing Day with you guys. And all my beloved followers and relations and friends got about 15 seconds out of that because it was just a disaster. Stonewell.
Yeah, well, I was actually on a beach, Dave, in Antigua, so I didn't get to see the race live. But I did come back and watch the replay of it. Well, I obviously just saw that he pulled up and watched what happened, and obviously the horse, Paul Nicholls, is sort of ducked out at the start tape and then didn't do Dolly the Great any chances. But I know they were quite keen on his credentials on that occasion. Of course, he was due to run at Sandown last week, but that was abandoned. And talking to Nicky in the blog, he was very, very keen of a solid run from him. So it's, again, similar scenario here today. I'm not sure you can read too much into the case that Nico de Boinville's on him and not James Bowen. James, of course, rides in post Trois, who is a little bit shorter in the betting with Unibet. James has ridden in post Trois twice, so that may just explain that. But yeah, he's an interesting contender. 2.5 suits him. He's won around the track before. He's probably not for me. I quite like Beat the Bat. I think he's an interesting contender for Harry Fry and Brian Carver. That was a solid effort behind Steel Alley at Haydock last time. I think he'll improve for that run. That was his first run in over a year. And I think he could be the one to side with. He's still very unexposed, Beat the Bat, in a race where I should also mention we are paying 5 places each way in that Lanzarote Hurdle. So, of course, you will get your best done terms with Unibet.
Beautiful. So there we go. Beat the Bat for Brett Williams. Look, I think Dolly the Great has got a great chance, but I have thought for some time that Night of Allen was the horse for the Lanzarote. Ever since I saw Night of Allen run at Haydock back in November on Betfair Chase Day, you couldn't really, it was a bit of a mess of race, you couldn't see that much, but Steel Alley obviously won the race and beat the Bat. That was second, but I thought, and here he is in the Lanzarote off a mark of 123. I think he's got a cracking chance tonight of Allen. Keith Melrose, we'll go to you next for the Lanzarote.
I'm just still marveling at the most casual drop of I was on a beach in Antigua that I've ever likely to hear in my life. I don't think that'll ever get topped. But I'm with you, DJ. I mean, this isn't really my sort of race as such. It's not a race where I'm on all the horses back to front. But I was inclined to give Dory the Great another chance. That was a complete non-starter at Christmas. He jumped fences on his chasing debut like he'd never seen a fence. And he's really well handicapped on his form from last season. And that Betfair Hurdle run, it was on deep ground as well. So I'm not concerned about however testing it gets here. In a race where I wouldn't claim to be at my very best, he just appeals to me as a horse that is maybe getting slightly overlooked because there's a more obviously sexy stablemate.
Well, not your very best is everybody else's very best, Keith. So we're pretty happy with that. Jonny, what do you like in the Lanzarote?
I think I was pretty impressed with him players try at Newbury last time, but it will not be my selection here. I really like Ilvat de Swat for Harry Derham, with the other Harry, who goes by the name Cobden, taking the ride. You look, I mean, Harry Derham's obviously been well documented. His yard was blown to pieces in one storm or another not too long ago. But since he started training horses again, they're running really well at the moment. He had a few winners over the last couple of weeks. And I watched that race at Cheltenham back from November behind Double Powerful, who should have actually won at Ascot if it hurdled the last fence on, was it just before Christmas, and didn't go through it. But it was prominent, then sort of hit a flat spot before then picking up again and actually finishing the race pretty strongly. And with Harry Derham's horses seem to be in very good form. I can see that running a huge race and looks one at a sort of decent enough price to have a good each way bet on him.
Okay, there we go. And Harry Derham, as you say, has of his, I think of his last 9 runners, he's had three winners, I think 3 seconds and 2/3 or something like that. So they're actually fired on all cylinders. So yeah, I can certainly see where you're coming from with Ilvad de Swat, currently a 9-1 shot. Myself and Keith are with Dolly the Great at 11-1, and it is Beat the Bat for Brett at 13-2. Let's move up to Ffos Las, and Ffos Las have been the beneficiary of what is going to be a very interesting Toten Novices Chase. It's a grade 2. It's over 2 miles, 3 furlongs and 83 yards. We don't have the final declarations yet, but if they all stand their ground, Keith Melrose, it's going to be a hot heat.
Oh, it is going to be a really good race, isn't it? And yeah, it's, you know, there's a few here maybe taking a bit of a shot at this grade. There's only a couple of horses that you say, oh yeah, they definitely are sort of already grade 2 standards. So I'll be interested to see if Lord of Thunder runs, how he gets on. And similarly, St. Davy, I don't know exactly what they're doing with that horse. Obviously, some really good form last year, but it hasn't quite, you know, he's only had 1 go over fences so far. And that was in the race that Handstands won. I was quite impressed by the way he jumped. I'm quite happy they're running this race at Ffos Las because I think he maybe wants a bit of softer ground, Handstands. I don't think he was enjoying the ground as much as anything when he fell at Wincanton in November and possibly looking beat at the time. Since come out on soft ground at Sandown and won well, beating Resplendent Grey. The fact Ffos Las has all those fences up the straight again makes me think Handstands will be able to give that weight to Resplendent Grey, who gets held up because he seems to be a tricky customer. He's very talented. I've no question that giving £5 off Handstands, he would probably be a better horse. But the way this race is likely to pan out just seems more likely to suit Handstands to me. So I'd be sticking with him.
Okay, we're kicking off with Handstands, the solid option in the Toten. Jonny, I know you're a Resplendent Grey fan, aren't you?
Fans, one way of putting it. I think there's a lot more talent than what we see. And, you know, they held him up at Cheltenham in a slowly run race, although, is it High Max that won that day? It was Nicky Henderson thing, wasn't it? But
Highland, yeah.
Highland, that's the one. You know, and he ran well, getting there late. Sort of similar at Sandown last time, held up, didn't quite get there. I think a drop back to 2.5 might actually help the horse. But he's held up clearly because, as Keith said, he's clearly difficult. But if they can ride him prominently, I think we would see a very different horse. But he is a bit tricky. And I've been through a lot of these. Personal Ambition obviously went through the last at Ascot last time. But I think the fact that Ben Jones looks to be booked on Handstand is pretty telling as to what the yard think of their 2 horses there. And let's go through it. You know, Handstand beat Django Bay, okay, the hurdles at Huntingdon earlier in last year even. But Django Bay's chase debut was very, very impressive. I think that's arguably a very strong form line. I think Handstand's the one with the most potential to be a level above here, and it's probably the most likely winner.
Okay, the most likely winner is Handstands. And for you, Brett?
Yeah, I agree with the panel, to be honest. I think Handstand was very impressive at Sandown last time, beating Resplendent Grey. I mean, he just I know it's no cliche, but he is a massive, strong horse, and it whatever he did over hurdles, I think was a bonus. I think that's connections would say that he is a real big, strong, proper chasing type. He was a smart hurdler. He's obviously transferred that ability to Ventus, and I think he could. I think he will. He already is taking quite a high rank among the novice chasers. Obviously, Sherry Dam's interesting if they decide to run her. I was at Warwick when she won just before Christmas. This is obviously a step up in grade for her, but she won that very, very impressively. And she's got a penalty, but she'll also be receiving weight, of course, for her sex. So, she could be interesting, but they've all obviously got handstands to be. Would he win doing handstands? That's the big question mark.
Oh, I like it. You should be doing my job. It is a clean sweep for handstands in the Toten Novices Chase. Moved to Ffos Las at Kempton, but looks like we're going to see the Toten at Ffos Las. And that is your jumps action preview, hopefully, on ITV. Join us after the break. We'll be previewing 3 races on the all-weather at Newcastle.
Want betting on the horses to be anything but flat? With an app that impresses every time out. You're on. Want to watch live streaming of races in the UK, Ireland and around the globe? And get a chance to win even bigger with 3 Uniboosts every day on any horses you want. Unibet, you're on.
So welcome back to the Racing Postcast, brought to you by Unibet, with David Jennings, Keith Melrose, Jonny Pearson and Brett Williams from our sponsors. Now, we're hoping this is not going to be the main action on Saturday, but just in case, we're going to preview the first 3 races at Newcastle, because we might just be glad in Newcastle when the time comes. And the opening race is a 1.2 mile handicap. There are 8 runners. We don't have any betting yet, but Midnight Line is on a hat-trick for Jim Goldie and Paul Mulrennan. And Paul Mulrennan was riding Newcastle absolutely beautifully on Wednesday afternoon, where he gave a couple of horses a peach there. I think he had a treble on the day. So Midnight Line is likely to be your favourite. Jonny Pearson, I know you love your all-weather action at Newcastle. Give us a good thing to start our Newcastle preview, please.
I prefer the weather action at Dundalk these days, but no, I thought Lerwick was interesting. He's clearly a bit of a tricky customer, and he doesn't seem to finish his races that strongly. But they've put a hood on him for the first time. He's run pretty well the last time. His step up, he's only had 2 runs on the all-weather, and he seems to be handling it absolutely fine. Step up to 10 furlongs, I think, can suit. I think it's vital that they manage to get a bit of cover for him and don't hit the front too soon. And I think he could be quite a big danger to the rest in here. And I don't think Callum Rodriguez has ridden for a little bit either, so it could be a nice first ride back for him.
Okay, that's number 2 in your race card, Lerwick. First time in a hood for Ed Bettel and Callum Rodriguez for Jonny Pearson. Keith, on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong would your fancy be in this race?
Oh, well, it's only ever going to be sort of a 3. I mean, I've had a look at the race, and when I'm watching flat races, often sprinters, I'll have views on the sprints in these cards, but this race is a case of, finding a horse that's got the sort of right profile. And I thought, the Midnight Lion thing might disguise how progressive Sol Kayo's been for his new yard. Just a horse that was always better on the all-weather, even for previous connections, and has gradually got back to that level. Little break before his last run and back to just about his best, but still with a little bit of room to go on from that. It was over course and distance. He's always been an all-weather horse. He's pretty unexposed generally, and I think maybe the sort of Midnight Lion Mulrennan thing might get a little bit ahead of itself and lead to a decent price about Sol Kayo.
Okay, so Sol Kayo, number 1 for Keith Melrose and Brett. Anything for us in the opener at Newcastle?
Yeah, I do quite like Sol Kayo, actually. That was a decent win last time over course and distance, but it's £7 higher in the weight. We're talking about that horse of Paul Mulrennan's Midnight Lion. Actually beat Urban Road, Alpine Sierra and Life on the Rocks last time, who already opposed. Urban Road is actually much better off at the weights on this occasion. So for that reason, bearing in mind Midnight Line was winning off 61, now he's up to 70, so has got to sort of continue on that upward curve. I'm going to go against Paul Mulrennan's mat here and go for Urban Road for Rowan Scott, probably a slightly better price. As I said, a good effort last time when finishing 4th, better off for the weights. So Urban Road for me, just do the glory. Okay,
there we go. So Sol Kayo for Keith, it is Lerwick for Jonny, and it is Urban Road for Brett Williams. Moving on to the 235, and this is a classified stakes over 5 furlongs. We're sprinting at Newcastle, and you do kind of like the sprinters, Keith. What wins this 235?
I tend to don't do a classified stakes very often. I do sort of not to 80s and up really in the summer, but there's going to be a lot of attention on Dash Gordon in the race. First time up for McAppleby and the horse watchers. This horse was bought for $4,000, and he was bought for his speed. He showed a lot of speed last time, or his last run for Alex French over the same course and distance, unexposed at 5. So yeah, he's going to get a lot of attention. I don't know how fit he's going to be. He's had wind surgery since he joined Appleby, but he's a sort of horse. You don't have to be that interesting to be extremely interesting in a classified stakes. So I'll be having a good look at him.
Okay, very good. That is Dash Gordon. Jonny, anything tickle your fancy here in this 235 for the rated between 0 and 50?
Yeah, the big question, if fit, I think Dash Gordon's the one to be. He won on his own on the far side last time, which is normally an unadvantageous place to be at Newcastle. He's drawn in 7, which should suit. He looked pretty quick that day. It's a 0 to 50. It's not going to take a huge amount of winning if he's fit. He could be too good for the rest of him. What a very ordinary race.
And Brett, are you in agreement? Are you with the lads?
I'm going to go against them and go for Doon the Glen. This is written by Paul Moran for Jim Goldie. The annoying thing about this, I was actually looking at this and thinking, looking at all the handicap marks and thinking which is being gone down, which is going up. And then obviously I looked at the top of the title race and saw it was a classified stake. So the handicap went completely out the window. Doon the Glen, if you look at its run last time, it got quite badly struck into, according to a vet report. So that might explain the slightly below par effort there. Albeit it was only beaten 5 lengths. Prior to that was a good second at Southern over 6. So stepping back down in trip today, I think could see it in decent light. And as you said, it's sort of it's bargain basement stuff. But Doon the Glen for me to go against the favourite there, Dash Gordon.
Okay, so it's Jim Goldie and Paul Mulrennan, and once again Doon the Glen for Brett Williams and Dash Gordon for Jonny and Keith. And the final race we're going to preview on this week's Postcast is the 310. It is the Gamble Responsibly at Bet MGM handicap. It's over 7 furlongs and 4 yards. And I have a very strong fancy here, boys. Can I take it away? Do you mind if I actually have first dibs on this?
Go for it.
Okay, I am very keen on Sweet Sicily here for Richard Fahy and Oisin Orr. First run in the nursery last time, Wolverhampton stepped up in trip after having 4 goes over 6. Was actually eye-catching on the second start at Newcastle, but was sent up an 80 to 1 shot. Where do you see a Richard Fahy horse sent off 80 to 1? But she ran an absolute corker. She was beaten by Blue Seeker, who was absolutely tucked in and came from basically last to first. Blue Seeker to win that nursery. I'd say the winner is a smart horse. And I just thought Sweet Sicily run a lovely race. And I think she ran off a mark of 61 there. She's only up £2 to a mark of 63. I think this track can really suit her, Sweet Sicily. I think the further she goes, I think even when she gets up to a mile, she's going to be even better. And I think Sweet Sicily can win the 310 at Newcastle. Have any of the rest of you got anything for me in that race?
Not at all. I mean, how many Sir Percys do you still see? These? Not many Sir Percys going, and especially over 7 on the all-weather. But yeah, that was...
No. Yeah.
But I think Studious and Penelope Valentine are the other two that I think we should probably just throw into the mix there. Sort of your horse, Sweet Sicily, sandwiched in between those two runners. I thought Penelope Valentine, I just watched the replay of that. She ran well, actually, on her first start over 7 furlongs last time. So clearly could be improving for the step up in trip. And Studious was very, very impressive on handicap debut at Wolverhampton. Stepping down in trip could perhaps be a question mark, but showed lots of pace. So you wouldn't think it would pose too many problems. So, it's a small race, but, it's quite a competitive. I think you can make a case for quite a few of them, really. But I'm going to go for Penelope Valentine anyway. Okay,
so it's Penelope Valentine for you, Brett. And I am with Sweet Sicily, and that is our action on Saturday on ITV previewed. Any other fancies away from the ITV cameras, guys? Jonny?
Well, I'm not sure what's going to go ahead. Some good racing over in Ireland. You've got Grade 3 Chase of 1:45 at Ferry House on Saturday, and then on Sunday you've got Punchestown. You've got Salvador Mundi potentially appearing, which is pretty interesting in the Grade 2 Novice Hurdle. But until we see what the weather is and what's actually declared, I won't be having any players in those.
That's perfect. Keith?
I there's no declarations and no prices, so I struggle to say fancy. But I did talk about Sir Psycho earlier about how I'd be interested in him when he goes back to 2 miles. He has got an entry in the 3:33 at Ffos Las over 2 miles. So if he gets declared on Friday, I'll be giving him a good look.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on Sir Psycho at Ffos Las. And Brett, anything away from the ITV action?
Yeah, if there's no racing at all at home, my fancy for the weekend will be just down the road. There's a local pub called the Red Lion, so I should be down there.
Okay, well, get stuck in, Brett. Get stuck in. That's all I can say. They taste pretty beautiful in January, so they do. That is the preview of our ITV action, and all that's left to do now is reveal our naps. So I'm going to take it away, okay? I'm going to go for the 145. You spoke about it, Jonny. It is the feature race at Fairy House on Saturday. I live about 5 minutes away from Fairy House. I'm in glorious sunshine here at the moment. The frost is starting to lift off the ground. It is getting better. It's looking brighter. I think Fairy House is going to be on Saturday. And the 145 is the Dan and Joe Moore Memorial Handicap Chase. Some interesting horses in here. American Mike, Hunter's Yarn. But the winner from 2 years ago, Rebel Gold, I think he won it off 136 2 years ago. He's off 140 now. Connor Smithers has been booked to take off £7. And would have been much closer over hurdles at Thurles last time, had he not made a mess of the second last. And even when he ran in that listed handicap chase at the Winter Racing Festival at Fairy House, he made one absolutely awful mistake when he looked like he was going to have a big, big chance. So I think Rebel Gold has been trained for the minute for this race. And I think he's a bigger price than he should be. He's chalked up with a couple of firms at 20-1. I think that's too big. So I'm going to give it 20-1 nap. And it is Rebel Gold for Pat Foley and Connor Smithers in the 145 at Fairy House on Saturday. Keith Melrose.
I'll get in the qualifier first that we do confer about these. So I couldn't put up Quintara, so I am putting up. Although I can't be saying I've put up.
This is having 2 goals at it. This is basically having 2 goals at a nap.
Well, no, when the hitman's your nap, you've got to. I think that's fair to say. You know, that's me preceding my. You know, I can understand why people think it's a foolhardy nap. You might fool us again. But I've been penned in by a long-standing thing on Hitman that he wants to be fresh and he wants a flat track, and he gets a chance against Pick Dory, who hasn't really shown his best for a year. So I am definitely taking that chance on Hitman.
Okay, I'm just looking at the terms and conditions of this podcast, and it's no swearing, no drinking, no smoking, no napping Hitman. So you've broken one of the 4 golden rules of this podcast.
If you told me that earlier, I'd have broken them all. So yeah. I'm not happy.
I think you would probably enjoy drinking, smoking and swearing more than napping Hitman. Brett Williams, what is your nap of the weekend?
Yeah, Keith very kindly allowed me to go with my nap this weekend. Quintara for Mal and Phil Rowley in that 2:10 at Kempton. Thought that was an okay performance on its seasonal day, but I do expect him to strip a lot fitter for this. He's only had 4 runs over fences. He is a point-to-point winner. The yard are in good form. Unibet a best industry price. All runners in that race. So what's not to like about Quintara in the 2:10 at Kempton?
A beautiful case, very well made by Brett Williams. And Jonny the Great, I presume you're tipping Donny the Great, or maybe taking on Donny the Great in the Lanzarote Hurdle.
It will be in the Lanzarote Hurdle, but it'll be Il Va de Soir for the very informed Harry Darrington.
You really like that. Even the way you spoke about that race differently to all the other races, there was conviction in your voice.
I'm excited.
Yeah, okay. There you go. So those are your naps for the weekend. It is Il Va de Soir. Is that how you pronounce it, Jonny?
Your guess is as good as mine, I think.
Okay. For Jonny in the Lanzarote Hurdle, Keith Melrose is with Hitman. Also at Kempton. Quintara for Brett at Kempton. And I am with Rebel Gold in the 145 at Fairy House. So those are your naps of the weekend. What's the plans for the weekend, folks? Hopefully the frost and snow will have cleared. Are you just going down the local, Brett, for the weekend?
Well, I was hoping to go to Warwick because it's literally 10 minutes down the road from me. Of course, we had the Unibet Veterans Chase and Unibet some Classic Chase due to take stage there. But no, all being well, fingers and toes crossed that Kempton goes ahead. I should be heading along the M40 to the Sunbury venue.
Well, enjoy it. Keith Melrose, what's your plans for the weekend?
Be trying not to fall on my backside, to be honest, because we have still got like 5 inches of snow here. I'm not too far from Wetherby, and yeah, I'm not surprised that's already gone. usually I'm heading out on Saturday night, so I've got to do some stuff on Saturday afternoon to make up for it. Is ultimately the way weekends go when you get to my age.
Get the brownie points in early, yeah, absolutely. And Jonny
Exactly,
Pearson,
yeah.
you out on any hot dates at the weekend, no?
Got no idea what I'm doing, to be honest. I might be out Saturday, I might not be. Find out on Saturday morning, I reckon.
Great to have the choice, isn't it? Great to have the choice.
Mm.
Well, there you go.
Lovely.
That is this week's Racing Postcast, kindly brought to you by Unibet.